All right, I'm Brian Sabo, president of NGLCO. I'm happy to introduce Darren Gilbert from Bluelab. Darren is a company, and he'll obviously explain a little bit more, is into testing meters and so forth that I think has got some new technology that could help us record faster and keep more accurate records than spending a lot of time going out and doing pour throughs and that I tend to not do some of the time because I just don't seem to have the time to do it. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Darren here.
Well, I want to thank everybody for attending and for being invited. So thank you for allowing me to be part of your meeting here today. Now I'm going to stop my video. I'm going to share my screen so that everybody can see what I'm going to be talking about. I'm Darren Gilbert with Bluelab. I've been in horticulture for over 30 years, and I've been with Bluelab the last 7, and I thoroughly enjoy working with growers. I was in medical sales a long time ago and joined a company called the Epic Plant Company out of Niagara-on-the-Lake, Ontario, and have never looked back. I've stayed in horticulture ever since. It's just a fantastic group of people. And but one aspect I've gotten the most joy out of is just watching growers' crops improve dramatically through the use of Bluelab devices. It allows them to grow better crops. Let's see if I can change. It's not allowing me to change. I may have to do it a different way. So bear with me, folks. Let's go to here. So why Bluelab? Well, we're the market leaders for over 30 years. And some of you may be familiar with Bluelab, and to others we may be a new name. However, we've been in the horticultural metering industry for 30 years. We are a New Zealand-based company that manufactures both handheld and wall-mounted devices so you can measure EC, pH, temperature, and moisture. We have won awards around the world for our innovation, as well as ease of use and accuracy. We work with growers to address their needs and desired outcomes. I'm not going to tell you anything you don't already know about pH and EC or temperature monitoring. Every grower learns the importance of consistent measuring and how growing the right, having the right pH and EC numbers for each crop produces better plants. This is known and it's not rocket science, but most everyone either does it somewhat casually, as in they only measure at the beginning of the growth season, or in many instances, they only test when they start to see a problem with the crop. I've had growers tell me how stable their water supply is. The well hasn't changed in 20 years, or the pond has always been good for pH. And when I ask what it should be, and then we go and we test that water, quite often they're very surprised at just how far off it is. Nutrient deficiency in plants can pose a number of challenges. Not only can they be tricky to identify, but it can also be difficult to treat these effectively. In fact, on a visual level, many deficiencies have identical or similar symptoms, such as yellowing leaves, brown leaf edges, or stunted growth. And it's likely that your plants may be actually experiencing a number of different nutrient deficiencies in one go, making treatment all that more complicated. Instead, you'll be making your life much easier if you get into the habit of looking into the fundamental parameters of plant health. EC stands for electroconductivity. Simply put, the EC value is the salt concentration in your substrate or in the nutrient solution. The salt concentration is a good indication of the available nutrients. This is why the EC value is important. It tells you if your plants are receiving the right amount of nutrients. You can measure the EC value in your nutrient solution or in your substrate. Measuring in your substrate, though, can be a lengthy and difficult process. Therefore, in practice, the EC value is usually measured in the nutrient solution. Not every kind of plant requires the same amount of nutrients. As you can see from this scale, this means the correct EC value is not the same for all plant species. Additionally, the amount of nutrients in a plant needs can differ based on the phase that it's in. pH, which stands for potential hydrogen, is a scale used to determine the acidity or basicity of solution or substance. In this case, your hydroponic solution or your soil. And as we already know, all plants need to have access to a range of balanced nutrients so they can reach their full potential for thriving health. Whether you're growing hydroponically or in soil or a soilless media, your pH will play a pivotal role in making nutrients available to your plants. That's because in order to become available to your plants, your nutrients need to be soluble, dissolved in water, and have either a positive or negative electrical charge. What's more, each of these nutrient ions have a preferred pH range within which they will be available to your plants. Outside of this range, these nutrients won't be available for uptake, leading to a situation called nutrient lockout. Nutrient lockout can also come about when you overfeed your plants, as the excess nutrient ions can react with others to form a new compounds, and they can then precipitate out and you're not available to your plants. You may have heard the comparison elsewhere. While your nutrients are the food, the plants need to grow, pH acts like the key unlocking those nutrients, so they actually become available to your plants. If your pH is too low, then some of the elements are more soluble in an acidic environment, which may lead to toxicity, such as iron or manganese toxicity. On the other hand, highly acidic growing media or solutions can result in nutrient deficiencies of magnesium, calcium, and phosphorus. In terms of visual symptoms, these can include yellow spots, yellow leaves, leaf death, stunted growth, tip burn. You've probably seen them all. If it's too alkaline, one of the hallmark features of an excessively alkaline environment is a deficiency of copper or zinc. Visual symptoms of high pH can include interveinal chlorosis, where the leaves yellow, between the leaf veins, brown or yellow spotting, gradual necrosis, and wilted or curled leaves. One too many, sorry about that. Temperature is also a big issue for plants, but pH is often in flux and it's not overly stable. If you were to take a glass of water and measure the pH in the morning and then again at night, the pH would have changed. The same thing happens to your water supply. It sits in the delivery lines, and through temperature changes, the pH can change. Warmer water, lower pH, colder water, higher pH. So if you have lines that run on the ground or overhead, this can change your temperature and ultimately change the pH. What about stress from temperature, hot or cold? Can have a significant impact. Container grown plants that sit in the sun, having the root ball heat up can slow growth significantly. The challenge has been performing the tasks of measuring EC and pH, moisture and temperature, and putting into daily practice. Pour-throughs take a lot of time, and you have a relatively small window of opportunity to take those readings once you start the process or they start to deteriorate. If you get called away or distracted, you may need to start over, and sometimes that happens. Quite often, it may not be done again, or it gets forgotten about. Slurries are another common way to measure, but having the distilled water in the field usually is not practical, nor is collecting the soil samples, marking the sample with the crop and location, take it back to the barn for testing. Another option that many growers use is to send a soil sample out to an extension agency or university. They'll test your soil for a relatively low fee, some even for free. But even with this, the costs can add up rather quickly. It's a common practice across the country and widely accepted. However, the results usually come back in about 7 to 10 days. And now you're looking at a snapshot of history, what the soil parameters were then, not now. Based on the report, adjustments to the nutrient feed schedule and strength are now made. And yes, this can help quite a bit depending on the need of the plants. But what if the adjustments had been made 10 days ago? Would your crop be better? Well, I'm going to go into some of our products. What I want to tell you about today are ways to do these tests quickly and easily while having the ability to data record with a few of our products. And it gives you up to the moment information without any delay. We have a full line of handheld and wall-mounted devices to suit every need. Starting with EC pens and the truncheon, They're used to measure at a sample pod or in the field to verify the output from the distant runs in the field or a greenhouse. So you can just pull off a cup, measure it, and you'll know what that delivery is at the end run. pH pens are a staple within the industry and for Bluelab. This has been one of our biggest sellers because they're durable, easy to use, and 100% waterproof, and extremely portable due to size. Throw it in the golf cart, throw it in your pocket, whatever you need. But it makes your life so much easier. We also have the multimedia pH meter. With the LEAP probe, which is the probe that's sticking in the medium there, can be a direct stick into any media, including using it in the field. It has a hardened glass tip for durability and is a near instant read. This device has a 5-year warranty on the meter. The multimedia pH meter allows you to take pH readings in both a liquid or a substrate and will allow you to know what the pH is within the root zone. If you're somebody that collects the runoff for testing, this can be a bit misleading as you're testing what the plants really didn't want. They're releasing it, not what they're holding in the root zone. This device can allow for a more accurate feed or pH adjustment. Combo Meter Plus is also a pH meter that utilizes the LEAP probe with a separate attached probe for reading EC. The Combo Meter Plus reads pH in either liquid or soil, just like the multimedia meter, but it has an added or separate EC probe, and the EC probe will only work in either a liquid or a slurry. Now, however, I did say at the beginning of this talk that you could eliminate slurries, and that's where the pulse meter comes in. The pulse meter is a direct stick EC, moisture, and temperature meter. I'm going to play this little video and I'll narrate through it if I can find. There you are. It works with any phone on the market right now, whether it be Apple or Android. And that allows you to not only get the measurements in seconds, but can read directly to that smartphone. That slide gauge, as we call it, on the device allows you to find the center of the container and then get consistent readings on each pot. So if you're always doing an 8-inch, you always want to be about 4 inches down and 4 inches in from the outer edge. And this way you're going to get a consistent, accurate reading as you go and take those measurements. You can snap that off altogether if you want to, if you're going into a bigger ball, or if you want to go in from the side, you can do that as well. But it allows you to get readings almost instantly, and it will record. And as you can see on there, it has 2 green lights flashing because you can set parameters on this for both a high and a low of both your nutrient and your moisture content. Temperature is just going to be a fixed number, whatever your reading is at the time, but it gives you a reading in as quickly as seconds, and it will record that data. And you can isolate whether you want to look at just temperature or just moisture or just your EC values, or you can see them all on one screen, and it will allow you to add notes. So you can put in block 1, row 3, because it's going to detect problems well before they start to show up in your crop. Maybe you start to have a bad drip line or an overhead sprinkler, and you start to see that circle pattern of what's dropped off. You do not need to have the phone with you. Like I said, you can set up the range of high and low, and then you can hand the pulse to anybody, and then they can go out and start taking readings. If they see a problem, they're getting red lights or getting 1 red, 1 green, then they can pull that pod out or throw a flag in at the market so you can come back to it and figure out what the actual problem is with the container itself or that area in particular. The device, the pulse, will hold up to 3,000 measurements before it will need to be downloaded. So when you get to 3001, your very first measurement will go away. It will still keep everything going forward, but as you take the next reading, then the number 2 will disappear. As you take number 3003, 3 disappears, and so forth. It just keeps going unless you download that information to an Excel file. The device is also calibratable. So you can calibrate, and you're going to do that through what we call taking a 1-gallon pot. You're going to fill it up to field capacity with whatever medium that you use, and then you wait until it is drained, which is approximately an hour. And then you're going to take 5 readings. And on the device itself, there is a calibration mode, so it will walk you right through step by step what it is that you need to do. And what you're going to do is you're going to take 5 measurements, or 6, and then it's going to average those out so that you know exactly what your EC reading will be going forward. And then you've calibrated it to that medium. You can also name it. So if you're doing hydrangeas and you have a particular mix for them versus your taxes, you can then come in there, you can name it, and then once you do, you can then save it, and it'll be in there in your device going forward. So you won't have to do it in the future. All you have to do is then click on that media, say hydrangea, and then it'll populate that into the device itself. And now when you hand it to somebody, those settings are already in place, so you don't have to do it each time. So it's the information that you need when you want it. Between the multimedia meter and the pulse meter, you have the ability to eliminate slurries or pour-throughs, as well as having the data available at your fingertips. We do not recommend using the pulse in 6-inch containers or actually smaller than 6-inch. You can use it in a 6-inch or larger, but can be used in field grow crops as well. So out in the field, if you're going to do blueberries, you can go right next to that plant and take that measurement as well. We also manufacture what's called the Inline Guardian. The Inline Guardian typically is used on the pressurized line systems that run out either in the greenhouse or in the field, and it'll monitor what your delivery is going to be for your conductivity, your temperature, and your pH. So really what it's doing is it's checking your dosatron type system and making sure it's accurate, because we know through experience and working with growers that it can start to get off because the seals in the pumps start to wear out. Well, this being in line can alert you to it. Anything with this little orange stripe here indicates that it's a Connect version of our device, and that works with this feature right here. This is Connect Stick, which will allow it to be up to 1,000 feet away from a computer, and a computer back in either an office or a barn will still collect all the data of what's been going on with the crop. You can set alarm points high and low on it as well. And there's a free app that's available that, should it go into an alarm mode and it exceeds either high or low in any of those parameters, it can then send you a push notification right to a phone so that you know about it. So if it's in the middle of winter, you have a heater goes out, it freezes, you'll know about it before you come in the morning, or that you don't have to go over and check everything. It makes your life so much easier. We also have what's called the Pro Controller. Our Pro Controller is a nutrient delivery system specifically for a reservoir or tank operation. It's expandable up to 12 pumps. You see the pumps here. There's a bank of 4, but you can get up to 12. So if you have a very complicated feed, it will work with that as well. But it makes it very accurate and very easy. You can attach an alarm box, which will then can signal you either via a light, which a lot of them will have it to a flashing light, or an alarm. Alarm could be a bit of a problem. We also have probe care kits for everything that we manufacture, because you do need to calibrate. On average, it's about 30 days for everything but the pulse. The pulse, once it's calibrated, will hold calibration. A couple of our devices like an EC pen or the truncheon never need calibrated. They just need cleaned. The number one reason we see things coming back is because people don't clean their products. They just use them. Thank you. I know this was short, but I really wanted to get to the pulse and the multimedia meters, because one of the things that people don't do is they don't do the pH testing or EC monitoring. And I wanted to get those out to you as quickly as I can. If you do have any desire or want to talk in further detail about anything else that you saw, feel free. I just didn't want to inundate you with everything that we have right now. I wanted to get to more of the specifics. Sure, from just the handhelds, you're going to be right around $100 for a pen, either EC or pH. And then as you start to go up, obviously the costs are going to go up. A multimedia meter is $250. A combo meter is $310. The pulse itself is $315. And again, I'm quoting you retail pricing, but if you all work with distributors, we work with BFG, just to name one. I don't know who works with BFG, but they carry it. So you're going to have different discount points for those. You get up into the Pro Controller, the brains, or that one square box that's got all the lights on it. That's going to be around 1,000, and the pumps run about 1,000 as well for each set of 4 pumps. You can get 3, and then they're 9. What is it, 900? The others, but it's expandable, like I said. The little Connect stick is only $150 itself. Yeah, feel free to email me, call me. I can get out and about. Hopefully we're able to do that before too long here.
But Darren, I want to thank you. I want to thank NGLCO for hosting. I want to thank you guys who've joined us for joining, and hope you have a good day, and